Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have something as epic as it gets because we've got an absolutely phenomenal diorama here before us. As we can see, we've got two Allosaurus trying to take down a Camarasaurus, and honestly, that's two of my favorite species, and there was another model that was out quite a ways back, if some of you may remember, some may not, by Dinosauria's Sideshow that included two Allosaurus trying to take down a Camarasaurus, and it was a model I always desperately wanted to get my hands on, and I never had the pleasure of owning, so it's really cool that I'll kind of get to have a second chance at owning an Allosaurus Camarasaurus sort of diorama here with this version. This is actually sculpted by Nikola Roglic, and I apologize if I mispronounce the name, but he's probably one of the most incredible sculptors I've ever seen. Like, his stuff is unreal. If you've never seen this sculptor, I've actually reviewed a model in the past of his here on the channel. It was a Velociraptor two Velociraptors taking on a Protoceratops, and I have full intentions of attempting to get a lot more of his work in my collection and review more of his work up here on the channel because he, again, is insanely talented. And if you have the chance to check him out, if you have Instagram, I will include a link in the description to his Instagram account where you can check out all of the amazing models that he creates, which there's just tons of. But this was sculpted by him, and it's actually sold by the Dinosaur Mine. Now, this is the same site that sold the Protoceratops and Velociraptor diorama that I've reviewed previously, so you can still acquire that model from them as well, and this is a newer model that they've unveiled on their site and put up for order, and obviously we again have quite possibly one of the coolest dioramas I could imagine when it comes to two Allosaurus taking on a Camarasaurus. And the scene is not exactly put together correctly right now. It's just kind of sitting here because it's also not complete. You can clearly see these are unpainted because these are 3D printed models that you have to build and paint yourself, although there are very few pieces that have to actually be connected. For the Allosaurus, I think the only thing I really had to connect would be the head and tail, and actually more like the neck and tail. And same thing for the Camarasaurus, pretty much just the neck and tail. And I'll show you guys how smooth the actual connection pieces are when we get that closer look, because I wanted to review them unpainted and everything to just show you basically what they look like once they arrive. But the only way to really show you guys how nice this is with a closer look, so let's jump to it right now. So starting with one of the two Allosaurus, and I was afraid of this happening where it was kind of going to mesh with the backdrop, but you can see that this one has its mouth open really wide. And one thing you'll be able to take notice too is the fact that it's kind of missing some teeth, and that is due to the fact that it has that kind of connection to the neck of the Camarasaurus. So this model is obviously meant to be fully assembled and put together, so once we actually put it together, you'll see how this won't affect the overall appearance of the model, because you can still see a few teeth poking up here. Same for the rear part of the lower jaw, but it's not really going to be visible because it's actually biting into the neck of the Camarasaurus in the final product. But again, you can see this is a really nice looking Allosaurus, very creative looking Allosaurus, because I think the crests look super cool and super unique. They kind of have like a jagged edge to them, which is definitely something I've never really seen portrayed on Allosaurus, but I think it looks super cool. You can also see the nostrils sculpted out up there and some really nice skin texture on both the upper and lower jaw. It probably will show up a little nicer once we get some paint on it, and also if my camera focuses on it. But you can also see some nice detailing there in the eye socket as well. As you start to move down the course of the neck, you see we kind of have almost like an armored kind of an appearance here to the back of the neck of the Allosaurus. And again, we kind of have like those spiky edges, like ridges kind of hanging off of the side of the somewhat armored appearance to the back of the Allosaurus. Extremely unique, very, very cool because of how different it is when it comes to portraying an Allosaurus from honestly any Allosaurus I've ever seen before. But as you move down the course of the neck, you can see skin folds galore, a little bulkiness in the throat of this one, obviously because the mouth is open so wide, but also because it's probably pressing into the neck really hard to try to take down this Camarasaurus, and it's kind of bunching that skin up there in the throat. And you can again see all of that skin detail honestly looks fantastic. And there's also really nice skin detail as you move down the course of the side of the neck. And here's one of the areas where you can see a seam, and look at how smooth that seam is. Like, honestly, with a lot of models and a lot of kits, you usually have to do a lot of filling the seams and stuff and trying to kind of disguise them, try to hide them in the final product. But I feel like these models, the seams are actually so minute for the most part that you don't even necessarily need to do that because they just kind of blend with the model overall. You almost can't even pick up on the seams. They're that nicely done. And of course, once you move a little bit further away, you really don't notice them at all. I'm of course going to fill the seams because, I would just prefer them to be completely non-existent, but again, it's already not half bad at all. But as you move down here into the body, you can kind of make out the shoulder blade a little bit. You continue to see that armored sort of a look running along the top of the Allosaurus. Moving down, you could see some nice muscle definition and tensing in general all throughout the upper part of the shoulder area moving into the arm. And then as you lead down, you've got the elbow right there. Really nice hand sculpt, nicely sculpted nails there for the Allosaurus. Moving back here into the stomach, you can kind of see the skin bunching up a little bit because that leg is taking a step forward again as the Allosaurus is trying to keep its footing and stay steadfast to take down that Camarasaurus. You could see all kinds of really nice looking movement and skin texture there in the stomach region of the Allosaurus. And as you move back, you can see that somewhat armored sort of a look here kind of decreases in size in the hip region. You can see some large scales moving along the back of that area though. You can make out the hip bone as you move down. Very nice muscle definition. And there's also sort of like osteoderms and stuff poking up all through the course of the Allosaurus as you move along. And again, you can just see lots of skin movement, lots of skin wrinkles and creases, even more so there in the back of the joint of the knee. Really nice looking kneecap there in the front, and also a nice calf muscle again with more skin wrinkles and everything moving down. And then as you lead down into that foot sculpt, you've got a really nice foot sculpt overall. Nice scoots down the front of the foot down into the toes. Quite the bird-like looking foot sculpt. The nails as well are sculpted really nicely. And yes, we do have dew claws, which you can see over there on the opposing side. And then as you lead back up here toward the tail, you can see the skin, stretching and everything off of the tail. Some more creasing and wrinkling back there. You can again see the seam for the tail where I connected it, but we'll try to make that disappear as best we can when we actually go ahead and further finish the model. And then as you move along, you can again see the same style of detailing with some really nice kind of larger scales, but also some, I don't know how good it's going to show up on camera, but it's a little hard to see, but some really nice fine scalings, fine skin texture as you move through. And again, all kinds of creasing and everything. You have a nice curve in the tail as you lead out. You can see it curves up and then slightly down and toward the left of the dinosaur, just showing a lot of movement again when it comes to the very dynamic pose we have here. There's also a little kind of peg here because that actually will slide into the neck of the Camarasaurus to connect the two. You can also take notice to the ear right there. Again, the head sculpt looks fantastic. And as you move down, you've got the same type of detailing here as far as the skin wrinkles and skin detail. You've also got more tensing here in the neck, again, showing the fact that Allosaurus is really putting forth a lot of effort to bite and take down that Camarasaurus. And again, the arm sculpt looks really good moving down. Nice hand sculpt. You can even genuinely kind of like make out the bone structure there running down the arm into the hand. Super, super impressive sculpting and detailing. You can again make out a decent bit of girth here, but not too much in the stomach region. But again, some more movement, some more nice skin texture, all kinds of skin wrinkles as you lead down here. Closer to the lower part of the body of the Allosaurus, you can see again this foot is also planted. Nice curve in the leg as it's again trying to keep its positioning to take down the Camarasaurus. And pretty much the same thing as you lead out here toward the tail as what we had just seen on the initial side with the wrinkles and skin folds and everything leading out into that nice curve of the tail. And the underside as well looks quite nice detail-wise, just very, very fine skin texture moving along the underside. So that is one of two Allosaurus. Then we've got the second Allosaurus, which looks just like the first, but in a totally different position. This time, however, you can see the teeth and everything of the Allosaurus, as this one doesn't currently have its mouth connected to the body of the Camarasaurus, but clearly is leading in for a bite. You can see the twist in the head and everything as it's about to kind of chomp down on that Camarasaurus and do a little bit more damage that will hopefully bring the animal down and give the Allosaurus pair a nice meal. You can see the nostrils and everything sculpted there, the nice looking skin texture through the upper and lower jaw. We've got the tongue sculpted out there on the inside of the mouth. The detailing on the inside of the mouth in general is honestly incredible. Definitely excited to check that out when we get some paint on it. Again, we have the same style of crests with that kind of jagged edge, and we see that same thing here moving down the course of the neck, that somewhat armored appearance. And you have the same style of detailing here, just like we saw in the other one, where we have all the really nice skin wrinkles and skin folds and everything. You can see, though, moving down a little further, this arm is up higher than the opposing arm is, and you can also see, again, a peg here, because this peg is going to connect to a separate section of the Camarasaurus to again further create this diorama and kind of tie it all together. And moving back here into the body, I really feel like you can see how nice that skin texture looks there in the stomach region right now. I'm really excited to get this one painted up. I think this might be my favorite model so far that I've seen from Nikola. I really am just psyched to see what the final product is going to look like. Again, you have the same amount of detail like we saw in the first Allosaurus, about as highly detailed as it honestly can get when it comes to like skin, just wrinkling and folding everywhere, showing off the movement of the dinosaur perfectly. We've got this foot up off of the ground as it obviously is kind of charging in for that bite, trying to keep up with not only the other Allosaurus, but of course the Camarasaurus itself. I love that as it's walking along, you can see how the toes are kind of held together. That's pretty much exactly what you would see as the dinosaur was taking a step. So that's a really nice touch. The nails, again, look really good over here. And then as you lead up, you can see that this tail also curves very nicely. We have another curve toward the left of the dinosaur. All sorts of really nice, elegant curves to both of these Allosaurus. And then again, we have the super impressive head sculpt here for the Allosaurus. It looks really nice. And then as we move back here, you see pretty much the same thing that we had seen on the opposing side. On this side, again, all the same type of detail, all the same type of incredible look for this Allosaurus with that really nice, again, very different, very unique visual of almost like a somewhat armored kind of an Allosaurus. And you can see this one looks to be up on one leg. This leg is definitely planted. We can see this leg is lifting up off the ground. And you can see a nice twist in the body as the Allosaurus is kind of turning in to take a bite. Looks really neat from both sides. Honestly, a phenomenal Allosaurus. And then the final piece to the puzzle, and the one that's worse off in this situation, we have the Camarasaurus. You can see the mouth of the Camarasaurus is wide open. We've got the tongue, the throat, everything there on the inside of the mouth. You can even see a few teeth there for our unfortunate sauropod. We've got the nostrils right there. The eye area is nicely sculpted as well. And as you continue to move down, you can see, skin wrinkles and skin folds and everything, as well as some really nice fine skin texture that I really feel like is going to show up quite beautifully once we add some paint work to it. You can make out the throat here running along the underside of the neck, and also the spinal column here following along the top of the Camarasaurus. Nice long neck. You can see a really nice turn to the neck here. I wouldn't really say it's an elegant turn because it's just trying to kind of escape with its life at this point, but you can clearly see there's quite the struggle occurring, and that's the reason for the positioning of the neck. And as you move down, again, you see the same type of, skin wrinkles and stuff that you would expect to see. Some nice tensing in the neck as you get down here toward the base of the neck. And then here on the underside, you can see the spot where the mouth of the Allosaurus would go, and obviously the opening for the peg for it to attach. And then as you move down a little further, you can also make out that the Camarasaurus looks quite large and quite strong. You can see basically like muscle definition and everything moving down here, all kinds of skin wrinkles and skin folds. You can also see the seam where the neck connects, and again, I'm very impressed with how good those seams look considering they haven't been messed with other than being glued on. They look really good for just being attached like that. But as you move down here into the body, we can make out the shoulder blade right there. You can also see just how tensed this leg is as well. Again, as the Allosaurus is trying to take down this Camarasaurus, the Camarasaurus is really kind of trying to pull away and, get that Allosaurus off of it. So you can see how tensed that leg is while this Camarasaurus is dealing with quite the life-threatening situation. As you move down, you've got the elbow present there on the back. Pretty darn nice looking foot sculpt here on the front as well. You've got some nicely sculpted toes, nicely sculpted out nails here for the front of the leg. And then as you move back up here, you can see the skin stretching quite nicely off of the stomach as this leg is really quite, leaned back, quite trailing. And it appears as though the Allosaurus is currently taking down the Camarasaurus, and that would be the reasoning why we see these front legs so stiff, so, tensed, trying to keep the Camarasaurus up on its feet, as this leg clearly is taking a fall over here. This leg looks like it's about to follow. And here in the stomach region, again, you could see the skin texture, maybe not the best visual of it right now with how similar the coloration of the model is to my backdrop, but you can probably make it out. And if not, then hopefully once we get it painted up, you'll be able to see. And then up here on the top, you can again see the other area where the Allosaurus will be attached to. You can also see the peg where the arm will attach, and also some holes here in the back where the finger nails would go, because clearly the Allosaurus has penetrated the skin of the Camarasaurus. And then as you move back here, you've got some nice muscle definition here in the rear leg, some creasing and wrinkling in the knee area, same type of tensing that you would expect to see as the Camarasaurus is unfortunately losing its footing. Nice looking foot sculpt here on the rear leg. Again, the nicely sculpted nails. And then as we lead up here, you again have the crease where the tail was connected, the joint right there. Still quite impressed with how nice and smooth that looks and how perfectly everything matches up. But as you lead out here into the tail, again, you can see all kinds of really nice detailing. Also quite the drastic curve to the tail here as we lead out. You can see it's really leading up and curving down and then also to its right. And then here on the underside, again, the same kind of detailing that we would expect to see, like that softer, sort of finer scaling and skin texture here to the underside of the Camarasaurus. And then over here, you can pretty much see the same thing. And another thing that I really like as far as this Camarasaurus goes is the fact that you can kind of see fear in the face of the Camarasaurus. Clearly, it's letting out a vocalization, a very distressing vocalization, but you can see, again, just genuine fear, I feel like, in the face of the Camarasaurus as it knows its life is nearing its end. And then as you move down the course of that nice bulky neck, you can continue to see again the really nice detailing. You can also see the spot where the mouth of the initial Allosaurus will go. And then same kind of tensing to the front leg over here. Both legs are almost in the same spot, almost in the same position. So you see that same sort of a visual of everything pretty much tensing right there. And then as you move back here a little further, you can see yet another injury here where the Allosaurus has applied some slash marks here to the side of the Camarasaurus. Some more skin wrinkles and stuff with this leg collapsing. You can see it pushing into the stomach, wrinkling the skin and everything. Again, you can see the foot sculpt, even though it's heading down, still looks really good over here. And again, the hip bone, the thigh, everything looks nice moving up. There's the spot again where the second Allosaurus will be attached. And then as we lead out, we've got the skin wrinkles and skin folds and stuff as we lead out into that really nicely curved tail. So I'm super psyched to get this thing built and painted. Let's go ahead, jump straight to it, and we'll bring it right back when it's finished. So here they are now fully painted up and finished. And first of all, we've got ourselves the Camarasaurus here. And you can see I obviously went with a really cool greenish color scheme, which I thought looked pretty nice. And quite the interesting design here with the patterning here moving along the back. But I actually am just beyond excited to get the entire thing together, because even though I've had it sitting here, I haven't actually put the pieces together to create the full diorama. I've been waiting until I did it here for the review, so I'm very excited to get that done and see it. But you can see again just how highly detailed this is. Once you get some paintwork on it, it is phenomenal. Like, really, really nice looking as far as the sculpt goes. I feel like the sculpt just shines so much nicer now. Once you have some paintwork on it, you can really see how beautiful the actual fine detail is. It just jumps off of the sculpt so much nicer, and really excited again to have this fully finished, and actually turned out pretty nice. Like, I'm pretty happy with it. And I always have a kind of a hard time finding paint schemes for sauropods. I don't know what it is, just something about sauropods. I often have a difficult time finding a paint scheme that I'm happy with and that kind of looks a little bit flashy outside of like just like the grayish or brownish tones that looks good on a sauropod. And I feel like I achieved it pretty nicely with the Camarasaurus. And then we've got our Allosaurus, and since these guys are looking pretty mean, I decided to give them a reddish color scheme because they're obviously a little bit on the angry side, taking down our, well, maybe just a little bit on the hungry side, but taking down our Camarasaurus, and I felt like the reddish color scheme just works for them. They look really cool overall, and they just kind of screamed red to me. I don't know what it is. And I also gave them a little bit of flashiness out here with a slightly lighter tone here for the tail. But these as well, again, I was pretty happy with the way they turned out. I think the sculpts look really good again with paint on them, and now that you actually have the paint on it, you can really see how highly detailed the models are as a whole. I feel like before, with them just kind of clashing with my backdrop, you couldn't really see just how good the detail is. Like, even right here in the face, look at how impressive that scale detail is here in the face now. It's just a whole nother ball game now as far as how good the models look. Even moving here along the top and the back and everything, you can see all the amazing scale detail here running down through the course of the model and how good it really looks. And of course we have the other one as well, which is the Allosaurus that currently is taking a bite out of the neck of the Camarasaurus, and I did give them some very slight differences as far as the paint jobs go to kind of differentiate them from each other, because although I do want them to look similar, of course, I don't want them to look exactly the same. Like, I don't want them to be like a clone. So, like, just for instance, one thing here is this lower jaw is a slightly different tone of color than the other one, had more of a reddish jaw and stuff. So I did try to give them some differences just to kind of make them a little bit different from each other, and again, just give them a little bit more of a realistic look, I would say, overall. And yet again, I'm really happy with the way they turned out. I think they actually look really cool, and definitely the reddish tones, I feel like, complement the Allosaurus quite nicely. So hopefully you guys like the paint jobs that I've given them. Hopefully you think they turned out pretty decent, because again, I'm not always happy with my paint jobs, but I actually am quite happy with both of these. But I can't really tell you how happy until I actually get the entire model together and we have a chance to look at it completed, to see how the colors kind of clash between the Allosaurus and the Camarasaurus. So let's go ahead and get this put together right now and check it out from there. So there we go. We have the diorama now put together, and it looks so good once it's actually put together. Like, I can't even begin to express how awesome this looks now, fully finished and put together, especially the Allosaurus taking a bite of the neck. You don't realize how realistic visually that area is until you actually apply the Allosaurus, and you can really see again how it looks like it's like legitimately driving its teeth into the neck of the Camarasaurus and trying to take it down. There is just so much life to this model. It's really quite crazy. So impressive how realistic it is as a whole. But as far as a size goes, we're going to have to actually move the camera back here just a tad, because with the length here, it's going to be pretty long. So if we actually go from the length of one Allosaurus tail to the other, I don't know if I actually can. So we're about there. It's a little tough to actually get a real good measurement here, but I'm going to go ahead and say it's about 19.5 inches, or around 48.5 or 49 centimeters, somewhere in that vicinity. And clearly the highest point would be the Camarasaurus itself, which is a little over 7 inches, approaching 7.25, or about the 18, maybe a little bit over 18 centimeter range for a height on the Camarasaurus. And for a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line, next to our Nikola Roglic, Camarasaurus, and Allosaurus diorama. And you can definitely see, again, it's not gigantic, but once you combine all of the different dinosaurs here into the diorama, it's still got a pretty good size to it, especially when you look at the length between the two Allosaurus tails. It definitely does have a pretty good length overall, but for another comparison, there is a Mattel Velociraptor and Dilophosaurus kind of standing in here, helping to give us an idea of the size. It's a little bit tough to really get a good idea of what figures we should compare with this, because it's such a unique piece, It's not like it's just an Allosaurus, so then you would go and compare it with other Allosaurus models, or it's not like it's just a Camarasaurus and you would compare it with other sauropods, It's an entire diorama, and there aren't all that many dioramas, especially when it comes to Allosaurus and Camarasaurus. I have no other ones in my collection, missed out on that sideshow one. But again, this is a comparison that I feel like should help some people out a good bit, because you can clearly see that every dinosaur included in the diorama is definitely larger than what we see here with the Mattel figures. And these are very common figures that most people would probably have seen at least once. But for another comparison, we again have some more randoms, as we have the Safari LTDU Tyrannus, we also have the Schleich Diabloceratops, and the Collect Day Deluxe Dimetrodon hiding back there behind one of the Allosaurus, here for another size, just to help further give you an idea of how, large this model is overall. Again, it's not huge, but it's actually like a really good, really convenient size. Definitely pretty much a perfect size, I would say. But for another comparison, here is the Protoceratops and Velociraptor diorama that I had painted up and built and everything not long ago. That's also sculpted by Nikola Roglic and also sold by the Dinosaur Mine. And you can see how that sizes up next to the Allosaurus and Camarasaurus diorama. You can see that they are very different sizes overall. Obviously, the newer model here, the two Allosaurus and Camarasaurus, are quite a bit larger, but you can also see just generally how gorgeous both models are. Again, proving that Nikola Roglic is easily one of the greatest paleo artists on the planet right now, but also showing you how beautiful the models are from the Dinosaur Mine, and how much I cannot even begin to stress to you guys how much you should check out their brand new website showing off all of the amazing models that they have for sale on that site. So this Nikola Roglic Allosaurus versus Camarasaurus diorama is phenomenal. Again, this is sold currently through the Dinosaur Mine, which, I might add, is a brand new dinosaur-themed website that I really recommend everyone check out. There are tons of models on there, a lot of models that are sculpted actually by Nikola Roglic, and you can go on there and see how many incredible models they have. I have a link in the description right now to where you can go check that out. And again, one thing that I love about the Dinosaur Mine is how good their prices are, because for something like this, I believe the price for this is like $55, $60, something like that. So it's like super cheap for a model like this. You usually don't get models of this quality for a price tag like that. And they have a lot of different models of extremely impressive species and everything all throughout the Dinosaur Mine's website that are actually really, really cheap, very affordable. So again, I highly recommend checking them out. But if you are interested actually in doing that, I have a discount code for you guys, because this is the second model that I now have reviewed for them. They were kind enough to supply me with a discount code for you guys to use. If you are interested in any of their models, you can get yourself 15% off with the code ANDYDINO. So make sure you check the website and everything out. Check it all out. If you find any models you are interested in, throw them all in your cart, grab them all in one shot, save yourself 15% off with the code ANDYDINO. But again, as far as this model goes, it may be one of my favorite dioramas now. Well, not even maybe, it definitely is one of my favorite dioramas in my collection. And I'm actually super happy with how my paint job turned out, which I'm pretty much relieved at this point, because I was really worried I wouldn't make this look as good as the model truly is. But I think that I've fairly decently succeeded in doing that, and the sculpting of both dinosaurs again is incredible. The Allosaurus looks so good, and I love the very interesting take on Allosaurus here with that almost somewhat armored sort of a look leading down the back and up on the head, that kind of jagged edge sort of a look to the crests. Everything on those, it looks so cool. The entire design of the Allosaurus is so unique and so different from any other Allosaurus I've ever seen. It really makes me just love it even more. And the fact that they are so highly detailed, of course, is also a massive plus, and the print quality of the Dinosaur Mine is out of this world. Their print quality is so high quality, and you can see that here as you look at the models. You can just see how nice all the detail looks throughout each and every one of them. It's extremely, extremely impressive. And then on top of that, we also have the Camarasaurus, and the Camarasaurus is gorgeous. Very sad that it's currently being killed, but still gorgeous. Again, they did a great job. Nikola Roglic did a great job on sculpting it out, giving it all the fine detail you would expect it to have, and also, again, giving it just a really nice dynamic appearance as far as the entire scene taking place, again, and a very realistic looking appearance as far as pretty much everything going on. Again, I just love that Allosaurus that's diving into the throat there of the Camarasaurus. It just looks so realistic here in person. And then you have the other Allosaurus kind of creeping up behind, about to take down the Camarasaurus and maybe help deliver that final blow that gained this Allosaurus pair its meal. I'm actually considering maybe creating a base or something for this, because I feel like that's honestly the only thing missing from this entire diorama, would be maybe a base to go underneath. But even without the base, it is so cool, and is also something that'll be easy to transport and take some dinosaur toy photography with as well. But if you are interested in this, again, make sure you check the links that I will include in the description to where you can head on over to the Dinosaur Mine right now. Check out their brand new website, check out all the amazing models that they have up there for sale. And don't forget to use the code ANDYDINO at checkout to save yourself 15% off on any of the incredible kits that they have available on there. And also, make sure you check the link that I will include in the description to Nikola Roglic, where you can check out his Instagram account and see all the amazing things that he is working on. He is constantly pumping out models at an insanely impressive pace, so definitely worth checking him out on there as well. So make sure you check all those links, grab yourself some of these amazing models from the Dinosaur Mine Mine and use that discount to save yourself a little money, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.